दयालु जगत समसारे पतिता पावना हेतु तव अवतारा मुसम पतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आरा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी कृपा बालकाना करो आमी बड़ो दुखी. Thank you. दया करो सीतापति अद्वैता गोसाई तव कृपा बाले पाय चैतन्य निताय. स्वरूप सनातना रूपा रघुनाथा भट्टा जुगा श्री जीवा प्रभु लोकनाथा. प्रभु श्रीनिवास रामचंद्र संग मांगे नरोत्तम दास. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Shri Radha Govardhana Bhagwan ki Jai, Krishna Balram Bhagwan ki, Giriraj Maharaj ki, Narsinghadev Bhagwan ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai Bhagwan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So reading today from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 17, verse 245. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So chapter 17, verse 246. So 45. 245. Seshane Dhana Prabhu Gangate Padila Nityananda Haridasa Dhari Uthaila Seshane Dhana Prabhu Gangate Padila Nityananda Haridasa Dhari Uthaila. Seshane Dhana Prabhu Gangate Nityananda Haridasa Dhari Uthaila. Seshane Dhana Prabhu Gangate Padila Nityananda Haridasa Dhari Uthaila. Seshane Dhana Prabhu Gangate Padila Nityananda Haridasa Dhari Uthaila. Seshane, immediately. Dhana, running. Prabhu, the Lord. Gangate, in the waters of the Ganges. Padila, plunged. Nityananda, Lord Nityananda. Haridasa, Haridas Thakur. Dhari, catching him. Uthaila, raised him. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Immediately he ran to the river Ganges and jumped in to counteract the sinful activities of that woman. Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur caught him and raised him from the river. Please repeat. Immediately he ran to the river Ganges and jumped in to counteract the sinful activities of that woman. Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur caught him and raised him from the river. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself, but he was playing the part of a preacher. Every preacher should know that being allowed to touch a Vaishnava's feet and take dust may be good for the person who takes it, but is not good for the person who allows it to be taken. As far as possible, this practice should ordinarily be avoided. Only initiated disciples should be allowed to take this advantage, not others. Those who are full of sinful activities should generally be avoided. So, what's going on here is that Lord Chaitanya, he has just finished some Leela pastimes. And these pastimes were very, very extraordinary. They were really mind-boggling, actually. So Lord Chaitanya had performed these dramas, and it had taken like a whole day and a whole night. And he had him and all his associates, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, all of them, they had dressed up as women, as different, as Radharani, as Lakshmi, as Durga, and they had performed all these different pastimes, and Yoga Maya as well. So after all of this, so this was done at the house of Advaita Acharya, also Queen Rukmini. So these pastimes were very, very extraordinary, and therefore only the close associates of the Lord were allowed there. And however, in the audience, there were many people this time around. Rather than in the kirtans, we know that there were very, very closed door kirtans. But in this dramatization, there were actually other members of the town there. And they were very, very engrossed and enjoying this plays, so that when morning came, they were very distraught, very upset that, oh, this beautiful time has passed now. So just after these pastimes, the Lord actually consoled everybody in a very special way, which I won't get into now. But after, so there was a lot of dancing involved in these dramas. And it's described that the performers, the actors, which were Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, all of these close associates, that their costumes were so real that even Sachi Mata, Lord Chaitanya's mother, couldn't tell who was Lord Chaitanya. That they looked so genuine and real, like real Radharani. And so just after all of this, everybody was very overwhelmed. And one woman in the audience, after Lord Chaitanya had finished all his dancing pastimes and drama, a woman from the audience, she was the wife of a Brahmin. She came and she caught hold of his lotus feet. And it's described, she took the dust of his lotus feet again and again. And the Lord became unlimitedly unhappy. So when I first read this sentence, I mistakenly read it. As she took the dust of his lotus feet again and again, the Lord became unlimitedly happy. And then I started thinking, why would the Lord become happy? And I read it again, and it was unhappy. So he became unhappy, and what he did is that, and it's actually said then, so because this verse 244 is so closely linked to 245, I will read the purport now. It's small. So what is described is that this holding of a great personality's lotus feet is certainly very good for the person who takes the dust, but this example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's unhappiness indicates that a Vaishnava should not allow anyone to take dust from his feet. One who takes the dust of a great personality's lotus feet transfers his sinful activities to that great personality. Unless one is very strong, he must suffer the sinful activities of the person who takes the dust. Therefore, ordinarily, it should not be allowed. Sometimes in big meetings, people come to take the same advantage by touching our feet. On account of this, sometimes we have to suffer from some disease. As far as possible, no outsider should be allowed to touch one's feet to take dust from them. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally showed this by his example as explained in the next verse. And this next verse is what we have read today, which I'll just read the purport again very quickly. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself, but he was playing the part of a preacher. Every preacher should know that being allowed to touch a Vaishnava's feet and take dust may be good for the person who takes it, but it is not good for the person who allows it to be taken. As far as possible, this practice should ordinarily be avoided. Only initiated disciples should be allowed to take this advantage, not others. Those who are full of sinful activities should generally be avoided. So, a few points coming from this very personal example and very practical application in our lives, which we actually see happening now. The first thing is the philosophy behind this is that devotees' mentality should generally be nobody should take the dust off my feet, not out of humility really, but out of protection. Nowadays it is done that I touch your feet and it's a sign of humility. That's true, it is a sign of humility, but at the same time, what is happening is that all the karma, all the sinful activities of this person is actually being absorbed by the person whose feet is being touched. And what happens then is this person whose feet is being touched gets absorbs all these sins, all this karma of the person who's touching their feet. And it's described as we have just read that unless this person is very, very strong, then there is going to be disease, there's going to be suffering. And even when the person is strong, there's still some disease that comes. And so what does it mean when it says strong? It means not physically strong, but spiritually strong. And spiritual strength comes from sadhana. So it comes from spiritual practice, and it comes from mercy. Spiritual strength we have to cultivate ourselves, just like we cultivate our physical strength by working out consistently, not one day's work in a month, but working out every day or very regularly anyway. So that's when the body becomes fit, the muscles become strong. And in the same way, spiritual sadhana comes the same way. So it has to be done consistently, it has to be done daily. And what do we do daily is we follow the 4 regulative principles and we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, 16 rounds a day at least. On top of this, we do extra devotional services. So the more sadhana, the more spiritual practices, the more devotional things we do and immerse ourselves in, the more spiritual strength we gain. And we know ultimately spiritual strength comes from Lord Nityananda Balaram, Adi Guru. So we pray for spiritual strength. And here, in this case, in the last sentence of text 244, it is said that sometimes in big meetings, so what Prabhupada is describing when there's a big gathering, like a big program, then after the program people come and try to touch his feet, and then he says we have to suffer from some disease. And no outsider should, as far as possible, be allowed to touch one's feet. So this is a very practical example. And in the purport we read today, says that only initiated devotees should be allowed this privilege. And the reason behind this is initiated devotees have less karma. The karma of their previous multiple lifetimes has been burnt up. during initiation, and hopefully due to ongoing sadhana, no new karma has accumulated. So this is the philosophy behind it, and the spiritual strength is the main thing. So if somebody is freely giving their feet for people to touch, they must expect that I will be actually getting all the karma of this person. I mean, what to speak of our own karma? We go through enough disease and suffering and all the three kinds of Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adi Atmik sufferings. We go through all of these ourselves, even after initiation. And then to add to that somebody else's, and not just one person, but many persons' karma burden is huge, is actually huge. And unless one is extremely strong spiritually, it is just not advised. I mean, we see from the scriptures that when Lord Caitanya absorbed the sins of Madai, then he turned black from all these sins. And so that's like a physical representation. Now, talking of Lord Caitanya, and another example comes to mind is when he was washing the Gundicha temple, in the Gundicha Marginam pastimes, when he was cleansing the temple, then there was a Brahmin who there was a lot of water used in washing of the temple. So this water, this Brahmin actually poured on the feet of Lord Caitanya and caught the water that came off Lord Chaitanya's feet, and he drank it. And Lord Caitanya became extremely upset. Then as well, he became extremely upset, and he took the Brahmana out of the Gundicha temple. He told his followers to take him out, and the Brahmana left. The Brahmana was ecstatic, but Lord Caitanya was very upset. So, in the scriptures it is said that there are three items that are extremely beneficial to a sadhaka, to a practicing devotee, which comes from a pure devotee. And these are the prasadam remnants of that person, these are the foot dust of that person, and the foot bathing water. So this is what that Brahmana was acting on when he took the water from Lord Chaitanya's feet. And this is what this Brahmana's wife is acting on now. So taking these remnants of prasadam from a great personality is actually extremely beneficial for a practicing devotee. For any devotee, it is extremely beneficial to take these three remnants, the foot dust, the foot bathing water, and prasadam food remnants of somebody who is a pure devotee or an advanced devotee. So by doing this, what happens is one spiritual life gets surcharged with the pious and the spiritual piety and the spiritual strength of the person whose remnants we are taking. So this is why it is very, very good for a sadhaka to take these things, to accept these things. It's actually said to be like I describe it to my children as it's like a big mega zoom to your spiritual life. It's huge if you can take these remnants. It is obviously good to take this with the permission of the advanced devotee, and in this way the advanced devotee will be happy and will happily give blessings. But when it is taken without permission, that's when there is unhappiness. And also, more than unhappiness, there is an expression of humility. So Lord Caitanya, he is come as a preacher in this age, and he is showing us by his behavior the humility that one must have. Instead of saying that I am God, and here any number of people can come and take my foot dust and take my foot bathing water, instead of being like that, he is showing us by example how a devotee must actually behave when that does happen. So what did Lord Caitanya do? he went and he jumped in the Ganges. And then, why did he do that? He did this so that all the sins of this woman could be washed away. All the sins could be washed away. And this is how he is showing us by his personal example what mentality we need to have, and what mood we need to have. So again, Lord Chaitanya's mood wasn't that I'm the Supreme Lord and this woman is just a spirit soul and she's come and her karma I can crush in a millisecond, so no problem. He didn't do like that. Because he was here as a preacher, he showed us by his personal example how to behave and the mood to have. And the mood to have is one of humility, that I am not qualified to take all of this. And I must therefore practice my sadhana more firmly, more sincerely, and I must also try to get rid of all these sins very quickly. So he went to the Ganges and plunged himself in the Ganges, and then Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda caught him and raised him from the river. So the other thing to say is okay, so I'll move on to pastimes now, which is that so when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, then his disciples, I remembered what I wanted to say, which is that there was this devotee and she used to carry a bottle of Ganges water with her. So wherever she went, she would just every so often sprinkle Ganges water on herself to keep herself pure. And other places it is explained that if we come across a sinful person, or we somehow or the other feel implicated in some sin, we should purify ourselves by taking a bath in the Ganges. And then it is said that, however, we can't all go and jump in the Ganges because it's not right next to us, as it was in Lord Chaitanya's case. So what do? Is we remember Ganges, and we also read Ganges if we can. And also then in the Bhagavatam it is said that the waters of the Ganges purify only after repeated use, whereas association of a pure devotee purifies immediately. So when we come across anything sinful, we must seek the association of advanced devotees. And in this way, our sins get purified. And also, we must obviously, without fail, go back to our spiritual sadhana. So, Prabhupada, when he was present, his disciples used to fight over his remnants. And this is because these items used by a pure devotee become spiritualized. These items of clothing, these items of shoes, everything. With shoes in particular, it's got the foot dust. So that is why it is more spiritually potent. And my Guru Maharaj, he tells this story quite humorously. Often he says that, one time Prabhupada was walking on the beach, and in Juhu, that he was walking on the beach, and I was walking behind him, and I was so desperate to get Prabhupada's mercy that his footprints on the sand, I was taking the sand from there and putting it in my mouth, each of the footprints. Sand. So Guru Maharaj says, he tells this story quite humorously. He also tells this story that one time Prabhupada had eaten a meal, and he had his metal plate, and that straight after the meal Prabhupada was going to give a class. So all the devotees all the devotees went for the class, and Guru Maharaj, he encouraged them, go to the class, go, I'll clean up over here, I'll do all the cleaning here. But his motive in staying back was to take the remnants of Prabhupada's plate. And he says, I was very fortunate that day that all of the remnants from the entire plate I was able to have. And he says, I even ate the stem of the grapes that was there. So this is the mood of how eager, how enthusiastic a disciple must be to accept mercy in this way. And the other thing is the food bathing water. So this is why after the feet of a great personality is washed, is bathed, then we take the water around and we sprinkle it on everybody's head, and sometimes a few drops in the mouth also. So this is to get mercy. And even by the sharing of these spiritual things, even, like that, the prasadam and the food bathing water, even that does give karma to the advanced devotee. And how this advanced devotee deals with it is, again, just highlighting that, is by ongoing spiritual strong sadhana, ongoing. Because otherwise, yes, even after initiation, we see after an initiation ceremony, sometimes the spiritual master becomes unwell. And then he says that, well, I've taken the karma of so many people. So in this way, one before initiation, and in general as well, just need to keep ourselves as sin-free as possible, so that when we do get to the stage of being allowed the privilege of touching a pure devotee's feet, then we are serving that devotee also by not giving them too much karma. So my children often ask me, or have asked me in the past, why the feet and why not any other part of the body? So the answer is that the feet are special, and I'll get into why, but also there is still an exchange of karma even touching any other part of the body as well. So, but not to the extent as the feet. So somewhere in the scriptures, I was trying to find that quote, I didn't manage, but it says that the feet are special because they have like a direct connection to, like they have like the paws or something, they just have a special connection, straight to like a direct channel, just like the scriptures describe. There's a direct channel from the ear to the heart, so that when you hear a spiritual sound, it just goes straight to the heart. So like that, there seems to be a direct connection in some way, a direct channel in some way, so that there is extra karma, or all the sins are absorbed. So then I just want to tell you one funny story about myself, an incident that happened to me, which is that, so after I gave class at a program, not here, somewhere else, then a mother and her daughter came up from the audience, and they were touching my feet, trying to touch my feet, and also being just very humble and very, very respectful, and just praising me so much. And then at the end she said, obviously without understanding, she said, can you please give us initiation, because then you will take all of our suffering and all of our karma. She actually said that. and then I thought, wow, that is really, really, it gave me very good insight at that point in time, that this is what our gurus are actually doing, and this is what Prabhupada has actually done. He has taken the karma of so many people, and I began thinking then, oh my goodness, like I can't hardly even look after my own suffering here. And to it really gave me good insight as to how spiritually strong a devotee must be to actually be in the position of an initiating guru, and how merciful they are. So, and then also, the praise that she gave beforehand, like it was like all so sweet and so flowery and, so sweet. And then I just thought, Well, this is exactly what it is. Like when somebody is a guru, it's actually considered to be like the epitome and considered to be like very glittery, very shiny. It's a big position. But when you actually look at it, it's actually a very, very precarious position to be in because of the nature of being a portal, of offering one's body and one's mind and one's soul as being this initiating guru and taking everybody's karma. So then obviously very quickly I explained to this lady, no, this is how it works, and there are very specific people who you can take initiation from and all of those things. So that, and there's one more thing I wanted to say, which unfortunately doesn't come to mind just yet. So oh yes, okay. So when somebody is touching one's feet, say, and Prabhupada says in this purport that it should be only initiated disciples should be allowed. So when somebody has grabbed hold of our feet, then we must feel unhappy, like Lord Caitanya, because we are like, I'm not strong enough to take all of this, and I'm not also elevated enough. Why is this sign of respect being given to me? Why am I being considered elevated? This is the mood Lord Caitanya displayed. And then one should quickly try to get rid of all these sins. So, and I described a few ways we could. So, however, if we are in the position that somebody has touched our feet, we can quickly give their karma back to them by touching their head. So this is also, so it's also described somewhere that, when we do that, then it just goes right back to them. But I couldn't find a spiritual quote for this, but this is what I've heard from my spiritual master. That it's taken as that we are giving them blessings, but actually it's a good way of giving the karma back to that person. Okay, I'll stop here. Are there any questions or comments or anything else? So this verse that I was given to speak on today was pre-selected, and it had a short purport. So that's why I haven't gone beyond this purport and these explanations. But it's a very important point, and also a very hidden open secret, but many people don't really know that these three items, or these three Mahaprasadam remnants, are the supersonic boom, the big pills of mercy that elevates practicing devotees' life, which is the Prasadam remnants, of food remnants, which is the food bathing water and the foot dust. Okay, thank you very much. No questions? No.
Lines in a stone.
Yes, Prabhu. I tried to imbibe that the sadhana practice of the Goswami's example, like being a lion in stone, during my practices in Kartik month. So the six Goswamis are the examples, and the Goswamis are these great exalted personalities whose footsteps we need to follow in. The Goswamis are also the personal devotees who help us in once we have realized our particular bhava. We actually, it's one of the six Goswamis under whose shelter we will come, and who will help us develop that bhava more and more. So the six Goswamis are Lord Chaitanya's disciples, and they are personal examples of, in their lives, of how we must try to live our lives, and the level which we must try. Now, because, like, for example, Raghunath Das Goswami, he only took like a little leaf cup of not even a big leaf cup, but a little leaf cup of buttermilk every second day or something. That was how renounced he was. And they only, it's described, they only had 4 hours of sleep a day or something like that. And how many rounds they chanted and how many obeisances they did per day. Their times were spent in. So the Sat Goswami Astakam tells us all of this very nicely, their activities, their mentality, and all of that. So one of the things, as Prabhu has mentioned, is that it's described that the sadhana practices, talking about sadhana in particular today because of how strong a personality must be. So that the sadhana of the 6 Goswamis was so strong that it was like a lion in stone. And what this means is that a lion in stone is fixed. You can't move it, you can't rub it out. It's fixed. You can't actually just shift it to the side. You can't make it squiggly. It's already drawn as a firm line in stone. So it can't be changed. So this is how firm, this is how strong the practices of the 6 Goswamis were. That every day, the certain number of rounds, the certain number of obeisances, the certain number of parikramas, the certain number of readings or writings, all of that had to be done every day and fixed, like not moving, not changing. And we also see, so this is how strong it must be. So we can aspire to have that. We can aspire to do that, and we must try very, very hard to do that, because it is our spiritual sadhana that will ultimately give, that's the fuel that we have. That's the main fuel that we have that will take us back to Godhead, and which is the aim of this life. So for example, for the 6 Goswamis, it is said that like Sanatan Goswami, he became very sad when he couldn't do parikrama anymore of Govardhana hill. And then he was given this Shila by Lord Caitanya and said, well, just circumambulate here, Govardhana Shila, so that you don't have to go, you're getting old now, you don't have to go all around Govardhana hill. And Sanatan Goswami, he did not want to compromise that. So there was a way around that, which is, you'll still do Govardhan Parikrama, even though you're getting old and crumbly, you'll still do it, but just do it in a smaller way, around a Shila rather than around the whole hill. And so we see many, many very beautiful examples from the Goswamis. Raghunath Das Goswami is described, he paid 200, in the Caitanya Caritamrita, if I'm not mistaken, 200 obeisances a day to all the devotees that would come. And how many hours he would spend in reading and chanting. So this is what it means when it says like a lion in stone. Sometimes we may not understand that. And one more thing that comes to mind, which I just want to say now, is so for example, just recently, my spiritual master was supposed to come and travel around the world as he usually does every 6 months, but he actually had to cancel his trip, and because of some minor ailments. And so he said to me that disciples need to follow the 4 regulative principles and do their chanting every day, saying that this is one of the reasons that there was some suffering coming his way. So even after initiation, the disciples' behavior and spiritual practices, or lack of spiritual practices, lack of following, does affect the spiritual master, because he is a living portal. And the last thing I wanted to say was, Anyway, it comes naturally when speaking, but goes away just as quickly. So it's Kali Yuga mentality. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Anything else anybody would like to add or say? It was a pretty, like a very sort of practical class today, that this is how we should behave, and also the philosophy behind it, and also a pretty, for somebody who's not a devotee, it might be considered very weird. It could be considered very weird, like the feet are the dirtiest part of the body. It walks on the ground, and why taking the foot dust, all of that. So I was like explaining to my children the other day that, because they were asking, why cows? Why not a dog? They're just an animal, a cow. And I said, you're saying that because you're born in Australia. So then I explained that a cow is, it's why? Because the scriptures say so. And the scriptures say so with very, very good reason. And, it's not just being said for the sake of it. It's not just random, because it can feel random, but it's actually very scientific. And even if you analyze it nowadays, there's lots of evidence available about, a cow's, like the cow urine, the cow dung, all of that. There's some scientific evidence available now to actually give one faith, if one only believes in science and not the scriptures. But then, so I explained to them that this is why a cow, and also in the same way, because the scriptures tell us that these are the three things, like, even though it may feel weird, it may seem weird, but these are the things that the world doesn't know. These are the things that we are very privileged to have this higher knowledge, to know all these hidden secrets that we can therefore utilize, because this is how the world is actually working. And these are the different potent things that we have to try to get out of the endless suffering in this world. So we must take advantage of this. We must try to share this knowledge to the ability that the person has to receive it without weirding them out too much and chasing them away. So, okay. Thank you very, very much for your association. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai.